You just got the offer letter, Friday morning. And I remember exactly what that moment feels like because I've talked to enough people who've been there. $102,000 base salary. You're 31 years old. You've been working toward this moment for years. 6 figures. You made it. You're sitting at your desk, staring at the number, and it's quiet, which is weird because you thought this moment would feel louder somehow. You're feeling not what you expected. You thought you'd feel successful, wealthy, secure, like you'd crossed some threshold into financial comfort. But you're doing the math in your head. After taxes, that's about $72,000 take-home, $6,000 monthly. And you're thinking about your expenses. Rent in this city is $2,400. Car payment is $495. Student loans are $380. And you're realizing $100,000 doesn't feel like what $100,000 was supposed to feel like. And here's what nobody tells you. $100,000 in 2026 is not what $100,000 meant in 2010. The number stayed the same. The purchasing power changed completely. And the American dream of 6 figures, it shifted while you were working toward it. My name's Peter. And if you've ever hit a salary milestone that should have felt like success, but somehow didn't, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Because what happened to the purchasing power of 6-figure salaries is the clearest example of how middle-class financial goals became moving targets. So let's start with what $100,000 actually buys you in 2026 when you break down the real numbers. You're making $102,000. That sounds like wealth. That sounds like you've made it. But here's what actually happens to that number. Federal taxes, about $16,500. State taxes, $5,100. FICA, $7,800. Total taxes, $29,400. Your $102,000 is now $72,600. You take home $6,050 monthly. And here's your actual expense structure in a mid-tier city. Rent for a 2-bedroom apartment, $2,400, down to $3,650. Car payment, $495. You upgraded when you got the better job because your old car felt inappropriate for your income level, down to $3,155. Car insurance, $215. Newer car, higher premium, down to $2,940. Student loans, $380. Still paying from your degrees, down to $2,560. Health insurance premium, $185, down to $2,375. 401k contribution, $850. You're doing 10% because you're supposed to be saving for retirement, down to $1,525. Utilities and internet, $185, down to $1,340. Phone, $95, down to $1,245. Groceries, $520. You're buying decent quality food, not luxury, but not the cheapest options, down to $725. Gas, $190, down to $535. Gym membership, $75, down to $460. Streaming services and subscriptions, $85, down to $375. After fixed expenses, you've got $375 discretionary for the entire month. $375. That's, for clothes, for going out, for travel, for anything unexpected, for any kind of life beyond basic survival. You're making 6 figures and you have $375 monthly margin. That's 6.2% of your gross income available for discretionary use. And this is the realization that hits you. You make $102,000 and you're basically living the same financial reality as someone making $65,000 10 years ago. Different numbers, same constraints. Most people think 6 figures is the threshold. Get to $100,000 and you're set. You've made it. You can relax. That's not how it works anymore. That's the trap. Here's what happened to the value of $100,000 over time. In 2010, $100,000 salary. Total monthly fixed expenses, roughly $3,400. Take home after taxes, $6,200. Discretionary income, $2,800 monthly. In 2016, $100,000 salary. Total monthly fixed expenses, roughly $4,100. Take home after taxes, $6,100. Discretionary income, $2,000 monthly. In 2026, $100,000 salary. Total monthly fixed expenses, roughly $5,675. Take home after taxes, $6,050. Discretionary income, $375. Same salary, 3 different economic periods. The discretionary income collapsed from $2,800 monthly to $375 monthly. That's an 87% reduction. Let that sit for a second. An 87% reduction in actual financial flexibility. $100,000 in 2010 felt like wealth. $100,000 in 2026 feels like barely getting by, because it is. And here's the mechanism that makes this particularly brutal. While the cost of middle-class essentials increased 70–100%, salaries increased 25–30%. Your costs went up faster than your income, and that gap is where financial comfort disappeared. There's a specific psychological trap that makes this erosion particularly hard to recognize. It's called the nominal anchor effect. Your brain anchors to the number, not the purchasing power. $100,000 sounds like twice as much as $50,000. And it is, nominally, but in terms of actual lifestyle difference in 2026, it buys you maybe 35% more discretionary income, after all fixed expenses. When you were making $65,000 and struggling, you thought, if I could just get to $100,000, I'd be comfortable. You get there, and you're not comfortable. You've got more income, but you also have proportionally higher expenses. But your brain still holds the anchor. $100,000 is good money. I must be doing something wrong. Maybe I'm spending too much. Maybe I'm bad with money. You're not bad with money. Or, well, maybe you are in some ways. We all are. But that's not what's happening here. The anchor was set in 2010 economics, and you're living in 2026 economics. The number stayed the same, but the reality changed. So let's run the math on what pursuing $100,000 as a financial goal actually gets you in 2026. Person A makes $68,000, lives in a $1,600 apartment, drives a paid-off car. Total fixed expenses, $4,100 monthly. Discretionary, $150 monthly. Person B makes $102,000, lives in a $2,400 apartment, drives a financed newer car. Total fixed expenses, $5,675 monthly. Discretionary, $375 monthly. Person B makes $34,000 more annually, but Person B has, what, $225 more monthly discretionary income? That's it. Person B spent a decade advancing their career, increasing stress, taking on more responsibility, and their inflation-adjusted discretionary income improved by $9,000 over 10 years. Same treadmill, different speed. You're lying in bed, Sunday night, 11 p.m. You're making $105,000. 2 years ago, you were making $78,000. You thought getting over $100,000 would change things. You're still doing the mental math, calculating if you can afford that weekend trip, wondering if you should buy the nicer jacket or wait, checking your account balance before you go out. You make 6 figures and you're thinking about money the exact same way you did at $78,000. And that tightness in your chest, it's not about being ungrateful. It's about the realization that the goal you worked toward didn't deliver what it was supposed to. So here's how people who actually achieve financial comfort at 6-figure salaries think about it differently. They don't let their expenses scale with their income. When they go from $72,000 to $105,000, they don't move to a $2,400 apartment just because they can. They ask, does staying in my $1,600 apartment actually reduce my quality of life, or am I just comparing myself to what people at my new income level typically do? They optimize for discretionary income, not for looking like they make what they make. And when they resist the lifestyle inflation, here's what happens. Making $105,000, living like they make $75,000. Fixed expenses, $4,300 monthly on $6,200 take-home. Discretionary, $1,900 monthly. They're making the same $105,000 as their peers. Their peers have $400 discretionary, they have $1,900 discretionary. That's financial comfort, not from making more, from spending less relative to income. Over 10 years, that $1,500 monthly difference compounds. That's $180,000 saved and invested. That's the difference between being trapped at six figures and being financially secure. This doesn't make you wealthy overnight. It doesn't solve every problem. But here's what it does. You stop feeling broke at $100,000, not because you're making more, because you kept your lifestyle locked while your income grew. And the gap became real breathing room. You stop chasing the next salary milestone thinking it'll finally be enough. You realize that comfort comes from the gap between income and expenses, not from hitting a nominal number. Now, let me be clear about something. This isn't about denying that $100,000 is good money. It is. It's way more than most people make, but it's also not what it used to be in terms of purchasing power and lifestyle delivery. And if you're pursuing $100,000 as a financial goal, thinking it'll create the comfort that six figures meant in 2010, you're going to be disappointed. Because $100,000 in 2026, in real terms, after expenses, is 2010's $65,000. That's it. The number carries emotional weight that the reality no longer supports. And a lot of people are working themselves exhausted chasing a goal that won't deliver what they think it will. Most people, and I think this is almost everyone, honestly, internalized that $100,000 means you made it, based on what that meant in the 2000s and 2010s. And they're still carrying that anchor, still working toward it, still believing that getting there will solve their financial stress. But getting there doesn't solve it unless you consciously resist the lifestyle inflation that typically comes with it. The comfort doesn't come from hitting the number. It comes from keeping your expenses significantly below what the number allows. And that requires letting go of the idea that you should live like people at your income level live. Six figures isn't enough anymore if you spend like six figures is supposed to spend. But it's plenty if you spend like $70,000 while making $100,000. The number isn't the problem. The expectations attached to the number are the problem.